I'm Miley, CEO of My Lash and Brows. So right now, listen, I just get a moment to pop out of the conference to share with you guys on the judging criteria in hope that in the future it's going to help you with your competitions if you ever consider about joining a competitions for lashing. So I'm at the Scottsdale Lash and Brow Conference right now. And when we judge for lashes, so the criteria that we would be looking at is the overall impression, meaning that when we're looking at the eye of the models, they need to be symmetrical. The length, curl, and thickness need to match with her eye shape. So that's the overall impression. If the style of the lashes really go with her eye shape, and also the position of the eyelids and so on. So I would recommend you to choose a model that have fairly, an easy eye shape, preferably almond eye shape, because with that eye shape it can go with most lash style, right? And then we also look at the cleanliness, the stickies, and the glue residue. So if you're lashing and you have dots of glue on the eye pads, that's a no-no, because the glue can cause the eyes to be also exposed to cyanoacrylate, which is the ingredient of the glue. And that can cause the clients to have an allergic reaction if they're super sensitive. And that leads to the fact that we're going to be checking for the redness of the eye. So when the model opens her eyes, we're going to look at if the eyes are red or not. Because if their eyes are red, that means that, one of those factors that you were encountering, meaning that you have the glue residue on the eye pads, or it could be that you're using too much glue that is exposing her eyes to the fume, or the way that you tape the eye pads are too close to the eye. So there are a few factors that, when it comes to redness, that you have to be conscious about with your model. And that is not to mention that if you're using a lot of glue, then it will pretty much run you into issues of stickies, and stickies is a big no-no. All right, it's a big no-no in our lash industry, because regardless what you're doing with their lashes, you have to make sure that there are no stickies, because that is how we unconsciously or consciously damage their natural lashes, right? Is if the lashes are stuck. So as lash artists, and especially if you're competing, for every one sticky is a mark off. So you need to be aware that there should be no stickies. And I don't know if you get trained, and it's important to get trained in how to check for stickies when you're done with your work. Later on, I will post a video to show you how you can check for stickies in your work right after you're done. Okay. So yeah, remember, for every one sticky in the lashes, there is going to be, unfortunately, a point marked off, and that happens to all of the lash competitions. I have been judging a few lash competitions over the years of my career now, so pretty much all judging criteria for lash competitions is the same. And then we also look at the direction of the lashes, meaning that the position of the lashes, especially, this is something that I noticed that in most of the contestants, is that if you're not careful, the inner corner or the outer corner are easiest to be messed up, meaning that if you're not careful, the lashes could point the opposite way. So when you're done, make sure you check on the outer corner lashes and inner corner lashes as well. Coverage meaning that how full they are. Okay, so you have to time yourself. Usually you get about 2 hours for your competition. You have to make sure that you get enough coverage. Ideally, we want to see about 90 to 100% coverage on your lash work. If it's half full, it's not acceptable, unfortunately. So you have to make sure that you're lashing those baby lashes as well. Distance from lash line. We check for the distance of each extension that is placed away from the eyelid, meaning that you need to make sure that each extension is 0.5 millimeter away from the lid skin. So with that being said, it's pretty close, but it can't touch the skin. Okay, that's important because when you're actually doing on a client, and if it's too close, it can feel very like icky and stuck, you know, uncomfortable for your client. If it's too far from the base, by the time they come back to see you, it's like so far from the root. So you want to make sure that you pay close attention to the distance away from the eyelids. Okay, and then glue again, you know, we're looking at how shiny is the glue at the base, you know, when how much of the amount of glue you're using. If you're competing for classic, then we're looking at pretty much a quarter of the base, right, of the lashes. If the glue is shiny, that means that you're using way too much glue, and usually that goes with the stickiness. Okay, if you're competing in the volume category, then your glue needs to be very, very thin, and I'm talking about literally just one dot when you're adhering the fan onto the lashes, and that's just for competition wise. The reason is because if you're using too much glue, again, you're gonna run into situations where your fans are closed, you're having stickies, your work doesn't look as nice, your work isn't going to look fluffy. So those are the things that we're looking at when it comes to glue. Okay, so I would say glue and stickies are the two most important things that you need to pay attention in your work. All right. When it comes to volume categories, we also look at the distance between each fan. So each of your fan has to be the same distance. So let's just say you're doing 3D, right? So each of the fan has to be placed in the same distance, right? It can't be like two that is like super close and this one is like super far. So again, you know, it comes to a lot of practicing that you're gonna have to make your fans perfect. I know it's hard, but that's why we're competing. We're competing to measure our skill, to challenge ourselves, to be a better version of ourselves when it comes to lashing, right? And last, you know, dropped lashes. Dropped lashes meaning that every time when we judging lash work and we're going through the lashes, if any lashes that are popping off, then it's like it's a point that is deducted to your work as well. Although if they're not stickies, but if they're like popping off, that means that at some point in there you're almost getting stuck, you know. So that's all the criterias, and I wish all of you good luck to this competition. And if you ever wanting to do future lash competitions, please do so. There are going to be other lash competitions around the US, and the organizer here, Marisol and Lulu, they're super great. They're wonderful at organizing this event. So next year they're going to be having another lash competition as well in Arizona. It's gonna be so wonderful. All right, I hope you really like this live, and I will see you guys soon. Okay, save it.
Are you sure you by the way?